Hi, everybody. So I'm Stevie and this is Beck, and we decided to record a little video about the spring equinox and the end of the astrological year and the beginning of the spring equinox, which is the beginning of the new year. So I am so excited to talk to Beck about what we can expect here in March and even in the end of February, and use it to help ourselves find the ease and the flow and not all. Because March is a big effing month. It's a big month.
It sure is.
Yes. So hi, Beck. Thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about. I love how astrology and numerology go so hand in hand with each other. And we were talking earlier before we started recording about how like I need to be smacked in the face by things to really like, okay, this is saying it, and then it's saying it again, and it's saying it again, and then it's like, okay, I can really trust it. I don't know if anybody else is like that out there, but it helps me. It helps me immensely. So my thing too is like something that I really wanted to share was the invitation that Pisces season brings because it's the end of the zodiac. And this means that we're in like a major rest mode period. I don't know if anybody else is feeling it, but sleep can be really funky. We're playing in the other realms essentially. And so it can be a lot. It can be a lot for our human bodies to be here in the human body during Pisces season. But it's also a really beautiful season of like the veil being thin and us kind of exfoliating all the shit that we've carried over from the whole year and getting ourselves ready to rebirth ourselves into Aries season, which happens on March 20th, which is the spring equinox. Um, and so when we go into Aries season, we go into this like fiery birth start sort of energy. And Pisces is the oneness. And so we're playing in this like divine source oneness right now. And we're going to be moving into Aries season, which is like, oh, there we are. There's our bodies, there's ourselves. Like we become more individualized, right? So
Right.
if you guys are feeling that way, it's really important to rest and like chill out right now and give yourself permission to exfoliate what's no longer serving you and get yourself ready for that spring equinox point. How do you feel? Are you feeling stuff too? Like how does Pisces season land for you? And also what's the numerology there, like in the correlation of that transition period?
Sure. Yeah, Pisces season makes me sleepy. It's and I have the wildest dreams, during Pisces season. I'm like, "Thanks." You know. Yeah, I just like think about that the rest of the day,
Hmm. It
and
sticks.
try to decipher it.
Yeah,
Okay, so the way, and I could just dive in if that's okay.
let's do it.
So the way that numerology works is like in reference to the seasons is we look at the universal year, the universal month, and the universal days. And so I had some information about like the universal year and the universal month. And
Mm.
so that kind of sets the stage, like that kind of like sets the tone for everything. Now Pisces season, obviously starts in February, and you think about, and I'm like, I'm not an astrologer, you guys, like, so I'm just gonna give like the bare bones description of Pisces. It's like you think about Pisces as like a watery, emotional type of sign, right? Um, Definitely like it's deep in your feelings. It's a sensitive sign. And here in February, it's been an 11/2 universal month. Two is a very sensitive number. So we've probably been like extra, extra in our feels, we've been like probably crying at the drop of a hat, or, finding ourselves a little bit more emotional than we normally are. And a lot of that is because things are being reflected to us. Like I think about the 11, the master number 11, and how that is one of the key points of that number is like whatever is within is without. And you think about the symbol of Pisces and how it's like the two fish, that look identical who are
Yep,
swimming.
totally reflection energy. Yep.
Absolutely, yes. And so we've probably all been thinking about things from our past. We've probably been seeing things that are going on like within us, especially on an emotional level, being reflected out in the physical. you know, by interactions with people or things happening, or, you know, we feel like our attention is here and here. You know, we're split, you know.
And is that always the same for Pisces season, or is that it's different numerology? Because I
It's
don't
it's
think.
different.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, so it's different for every month. So what I'm going to do is explain the universal year energy, because this will help explain why we are in an 11-2 universal month and we're going into a 12-3 universal month.
Mm.
So we're in a 9 universal year. 2025, if you add each of the numbers together and reduce it equals to 9, which we don't have to reduce 2025. um, and that's how we come up with 9. That's how we know numerologically that is the energy that we're entering into. So you think about the universal years as the stage that everything happens upon, right? So 9 it's a very all-encompassing number. It has a little bit of each number within it. So it kind of has an identity crisis, okay, but we don't hold that against it. And so 9 universal years are years to figure out who you are, like looking at all of the different layers. Like we don't just fit into a box. You know, like we are multidimensional, we are multi-layered. There are different aspects to us, and like we can hold duality. You know, we can hold all of the polarization and things like that. It's really fascinating.
Super fascinating.
Yes. So in mathematics, everything added to 9 equals itself. So when we go to find the universal month, we add the universal year, which in this case is 9, and we add it to the corresponding number of the month, which February is 2, March is 3. So it's pretty easy to figure it out this year because everything added to 9 equals itself. So we are going from a 2 universal month into a 3 universal month. April will be 4, May will be 5.
Got it.
Yes. So there's another aspect of that reflection that we were talking about, you
Mhm.
know, with the Pisces energy. But 9 universal years represent a time of like great endings and beginnings. You know, 9 is at the end of the number line. So it's like usually we're wrapping things up, we're tying up loose ends, we are coming to a close with things. There's also this like stopping and starting energy with the 9. You know, you may feel drawn to like do something or begin something, and then you're like, hang on, we need to like kind of revisit some things really quick. But envisioning the future by reflecting on the past. So that was something big that came up this month in February, with the 9 and then the 11 and the 2 energies kind of working together. But bringing things up from the past. There's a lot of ancestral energy here
Oh
with
yeah.
this 9 universal year. And then changes in the form of collapse and overhaul. So it's not just about endings. Sometimes 9 is about just an overhaul. I mean, you think about like the physical, like what a physical 9 looks like, you know, it's kind of like, meh, you know, it's kind of like we could go like this or we could go like this. It's like a spiral, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes we just need to, we don't have to just abandon ship altogether. We can also, you know, kind of overhaul things and look at things in a new way.
Mm.
But we are reaching for our wisdom, for our ancestors, as I mentioned, and applying their knowledge to our current way of life for much needed improvements. So I feel
Wow.
like that's going to be happening a lot more this year.
Which is
And
so like Cancer and like Mars retrograde in Cancer.
right,
And everything you're saying in a 9 year is so fascinating because astrologically speaking, all the planets are touching new beginning, like a lot of the outer planets are going into new signs, and then they're like, ooh, and then they back up into old signs. So this
yeah,
this year astrologically too is endings and beginnings, and that's exactly my theme for the year is like we get a little taste and then we're going to refine and then we're going to go back. Like that's exactly what you're.
exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes, I put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
dork. Okay. So another thing that I love about 9 is it's the most humanitarian. number of the number line. Like it gives me Aquarius vibes in
Mhm.
correlation, right? It's like I want what's best for everyone, universal type of energy, right?
Totally.
Um it sees a need and it wants to fill it. And it reminds us that when one of us falls, all of us fall.
Mm.
So I feel like this year we're really going to be seeing a lot of people like stepping up to the plate. We're going to be seeing a lot of people um not just sitting on their hands, you know. So in another astrological aspect here, nine is ruled by Mars, or nine rules Mars, however you want to say
Interesting.
it.
I didn't know that. That's so fascinating. 'Cause Mars is so loud right now.
Yes.
Most of this year. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And so it's like nine can embody this loving, wise, depth and presence, like it can sit with itself, but it also is action oriented. It's like I cannot sit idly by and see people suffer. I cannot sit here and just allow all of these wrongs to take place, like I have to do something about it. And I feel like that's going to be, as this year progresses, more and more people are going to be feeling that way. And we're going to be seeing, I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of movements, a lot of maybe protests because of that, like hopefully peaceful protests. But people they want to see change.
Yeah.
And the ending number of this year is a five, which represents change,
Wow.
so um I feel like this could be, I personally feel hopeful
Mhm.
because of that. Those energies working together, I feel like will move and shift things in the direction that we need them to go.
Well, right.
And
We need them, right,
right,
guys? Like we need this to happen.
right,
Like it's not working. It wasn't working. You know what else is so
absolutely.
fascinating, Beck, is we're recording this on the day that Mars goes direct.
Woo!
So Mars energy is so strong right now when we're recording this too. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
So it's not, we're not just gonna sit on our butts. We're actually
We're
gonna
gonna
do
take
something.
action. But you're saying like we're gonna take like sacred aligned action, right? For the best of humanity with this
Yes.
energy, which is really
Yes.
I'm here for that.
Yes. Nine can be it can be impulsive, like in its shadow, but it can also in its light, it can be very thoughtful. It's like we don't want to repeat these past mistakes. We're gonna do something different this time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
makes so much sense.
Um, and then nine is also, it's like very philosophical, and it asks us, like I said, to be thoughtful and mindful, um, and like taking different symbolism and occurrences that are unfolding, and like seeing once again like that reflection, right? Like seeing how what's going on in the collective is what's going on inside of us
Mhm.
as well,
As
on an
above,
individual
yeah,
level.
so
Yeah,
below. Yep. As within, so
absolutely.
without. Absolutely. I feel that so strongly.
Absolutely. And it's powerful, and it's like, it's forcing us to look at that. It's not just, oh, well, when I have time, it's like you can't ignore it. It's very, very obvious.
Yep. Feel that. Feel that so strongly. What about the energy of the spring equinox? What does that bring to us? Because that's the birth of, I mean, in my opinion, I go off of the zodiac calendar, the astrological calendar, which is much more in alignment with our natural nature state of our bodies. Like it's cool to do the New Year's thing during Capricorn season. I'm here for that too, like because it brings Capricorn energy, but the spring equinox is all about the rebirth. And at least in the northern hemisphere, we're in spring, and in the southern hemisphere, you're in fall. But either way, this is a really like 0 degrees of Aries, which is when the sun moves into Aries on the spring equinox, is one of, if not the most sacred point in astrology. It's the absolute birth of something out of source into self.
Mhm.
And it's really, really powerful. Like very powerful. And like you were saying, Pisces energy is this watery oneness and emotion. And then you go into Aries and it's like, go. it's very Mars, right? It's like, go, let's
Yes,
take
it is.
action.
It
It's
is.
ruled
And
by Mars. So,
exactly. And that's why too, like you said, March is such a pivotal month this year
it's
for that very
very,
reason.
yes. And this March is a little on crack, right? Because we have
Yeah.
astrologically speaking, because I mean, the first 6 months of this year have a lot of retrogrades.
Right.
So we're in this like very hermity stage in some ways because of that, but we're also feeling like all the things you're talking about. And it's not like we're not taking action, it's just that we're being asked to like realign, reassess maybe how you used to take action. What did you used to love and desire? What were the things you used to think about? Like all that past stuff is
Mhm.
so powerful. And in March we have Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and then we have two eclipses. So it's a portal to say the least. And I'm not here to like fear monger, but this
Right.
is a time where you're gonna realign. You have to. Eclipses just push us through these sacred soul contract points where you signed up for this, your soul wants to do XYZ. So it's time to end and it's time to begin, and you have no choice, right?
Right.
Like you just don't. And I think eclipses are amazing for this reason. Like sometimes, especially as a Taurus, I need shoved. I need to be like, okay, you are done with this, bitch.
Get out of
So
here.
it's time to start something new again. And here you go. Here's the portal you're going to walk through. So, how do you see that playing out in the numerology?
Okay, so let's just go ahead and dive into March. You know,
Yeah.
I already talked about February. So March is going to be a 12/3 universal month.
Yeah.
So when you look at numerology, like you have the three, like the essence of the month is a three, but you also need to look at the non-reduced number, which that's why I include 12, because that is how you're going to have a successful month, right?
Interesting.
Like that's going to be like a these are those I call those the action steps to having a successful three universal month.
Yeah.
So three, is a very passionate, fiery number in a lot of ways. It represents creativity, passion, art, community, communication, advocacy, the inner child. That was another reason when I say advocacy, I feel like there's going to be maybe peaceful protests, and people speaking out, you
Well, it
know.
makes sense too with Venus and Mercury retrograde because that's much more introverted and not necessarily so aggressive, right?
Right, right, exactly. It also represents joy, the inner child manifestation, expansion, and expression. So three is represented by Jupiter.
Oh,
So there's that expansion, right?
yeah.
And there's that joy as well. So
Mhm.
12 represents uniqueness, selflessness, compassion, sacrifice, guidance, acceptance of others, and
Mm.
sacred spaces.
There's that piece that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Exactly.
that makes me feel so much better about March.
Right? Because I mean, it's all about where you choose to put your energy, right? I mean, if we're going to focus on everything that's wrong and everything that's bad, and sitting here feeling like, oh well, what can I do to make a difference? Like we can start small and work our way up, like ripple effect, right? So I feel like as a collective, we will be pulled to like really show up for causes that move us. I feel like that humanitarian essence is something that 3 and 9 really share. Six does too. So 3, 6, 9. Um, and it will move us to, utilize our time, our talent, our gifts, our resources to pour back into the community. Like I feel like there's this beautification that wants to happen. So this could look like, I mean, we could, as an example, you could clean up your local park. Like if you live in a city, like you could pick trash up, or you can paint a beautiful mural on the side of a building or something like that. Like that's three energy. Um, so I also feel like with not only the spring energy, I mean, you think about spring, like I don't want to hole up in my house when it's spring. I
Yeah,
want to
you're
go
motivated.
outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, let's go. Yeah.
Yes. And three is like, wants to be around friends. Like it represents friendship, and it's like there's this beautiful like harmonizing energy, like let's all play nice, let's all get along. And nine kind of will oversee that because that's what it wants to. So if we all pitched in a little bit instead of, relying too heavily on just a few people to carry it all, we can make a profound change. And so I feel like all of this like springtime, this Aries energy, this movement that wants to happen, like we can make like amazing differences
Yeah.
in our community, even in our personal lives. But we just have
Yeah.
to take that initiative, right?
Right. Which makes me think too about the fact that the Venus and Mercury are going to be backing up in Aries and then they pop back into Pisces, which feels
Right.
like this 12 energy to me of
For sure.
compassion and oneness. And it makes it's really interesting that you're saying that too, because it's going to make the vibe not be as Aries, as intense. Because Aries is like a more aggressive, let's say.
Right.
It's like
Right.
get on my team or get off. I don't care. I'm going, right?
Right.
Like we're moving Aries and Aries energy, that cardinal sign wants to just go forward. That's why it's like the birth of the flower in spring. Like it has enough energy to like pop the seed and like,
Right.
yeah, bloom. And so how fascinating that we're going to get this extra moment of Mercury, which is the way that we think and communicate and talk to each other, right? And then Venus is all about our what we love, what we desire, our value system, our sense of worthiness, just love, beauty, pleasure. And
Yes.
she's going to be backing up to Pisces too and like revisiting where she was before. So how fascinating that we're going to be playing in the end and the beginning in March so much. And
Right.
it's not necessarily your average at all, your average spring season. Like astrologically and numerology too is now saying that this isn't necessarily all go, go, go Aries. It's got this other flavor to it. It's like a more compassionate Christ consciousness almost, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also going to be like a lot of like abstract thought. Three and seven are like very, very mental numbers in numerology. And so we might also be like having this well of ideas like coming to us, and that's where that creativity comes from, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be about art, and music. It could be about problem solving, coming up with solutions, thinking outside of the box. It's like, okay, well, this is the way things have always been done, but this is the way it could be. Like,
Yeah.
have we ever thought about trying this?
Oh my God, I love that. Love that. I think I'm a three, right? I'm a three in my.
Yes, you are.
Okay. I was like, yay, we get to
You're
be
a life
creative
path,
and play.
life path 30/3.
Yeah, like we get to play and be creative. That sounds so good, which is again so Pisces and Aries is in Pisces season, and I don't know if you guys are feeling this, like you can kind of get lost. Like you could scroll and you like kind of dissociate. Like you just, where did I go? And what it's just so almost unconnected from the body. We get in the other realms with it, which I
Right.
love that. Like I love that energy. But Aries kind of gives us this flavor of like, okay, let's take all that creative ideas and like that playing in the surrendering ocean of everything and let's do something with it. Let's like start something. Isn't it fun to start something? Aries loves that shit, you
Yes,
know? So I think it's cool to weave the end and the beginning. It's like the alpha, what is that? The alpha and the omega? Like you're
absolutely.
yeah, this gives me such a cool lens because I think the astrology is not necessarily bad because I hate that kind of language, but
Yeah.
it's going to be uncomfortable in some ways. And so what you're
Oh,
saying too is
absolutely.
like if
Yeah.
we lean into that 12 and the 3, we can play with it more. It can be more playful, right? And less
Right.
serious, which I love that so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's like sometimes, we've grown so accustomed, and I guess this would be kind of a Pluto and Capricorn reference where it's like we're so used to the structures,
Yeah.
right? And then now we're in Pluto and Aquarius, right? And so now it's like things are a little bit more movement oriented, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
and that is like totally so I feel like there's going to be this big shift starting in March and going forward.
Mhm.
And also, there's no definitive line. And I'm sure that this can also be applied to astrology. It's like, just because we're in 2025 doesn't mean we don't have 2024 influences still affecting us
Yeah.
on a numerology level.
Yeah.
And so we're still seeing like little bits and pieces, of things changing, and there's still like power structures. There's still like, you know, big conglomerate sized, influences like still affecting us, things that we still have to participate in. But
Yeah.
it's like we're also allowing space for the new to come in.
Yeah.
We're going to see things shift and change this year in a big way. So, in that sense, like nine kind of is like five, it does have like this essence of change about it. It's like we like see what we were doing, like we can't do that anymore. you know
Doesn't work. Doesn't compute.
no,
Can't go back. Sorry.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, it can't.
Yeah.
And so we have to move forward, and nine is like the catalyst for that.
Totally. Totally. It makes so much sense too.
Mhm.
And if we can like play in that 312 energy this month, we can probably find so much more ease, which to me also feels like connecting with what little you would want to do and maybe disconnecting from all the noise that is online and is the media, because those things are also being overhauled, right? Like all of it is being overhauled. And it can be super scary for us because we've always given our authority outside of ourselves. And so when that starts to crumble, we're like, oh, who are we though? Like, what are we doing? And
Right.
will we be okay? Are you sure? And so
Yes.
like that, it sounds like what you're saying too is, and even the astrology is like we're finding our inner resiliency. And we're learning that it's coming from this place, not this place.
Hmm.
And that can be, hard as a human, but also like if we can lean into that like 12-3, it could be a little bit more like, ooh, we're just in a game and we're creating here and we're like figuring out how to more love, more love, more love, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
I
that inner child energy.
yeah, I'm here for that. That's really that's gonna help me like move through this month.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
because I mean eclipses too, like we're having they're massive like soul endings and soul beginnings. And so in order to like actually have a soul karmic contracted beginning, you have to let go of the end of a cycle. And all these cycles overlap each other. Like what you were saying is like there's little circles and there's bigger circles and then there's circles that overlap. And we're just in all these cycles. We're in our
Right.
soul cycle, we're in Pluto cycle and Mercury cycle, and we're all being affected by all of these things.
Right.
But I think regardless of all of that, it's like this invitation is to say, how can I love myself more? Right. And then the more that I do that, the more that I can like show up from an authentic place of compassion for what is going on out there. And so if that's the case, turn off the stuff. Like turn it off, take a break, go walk. I mean, Pisces energy and Aries energy need you to like meditatively move your body,
Right.
whatever that means. This
Right.
isn't like a sit still sort of situation. This is like go move your chi and then also be by yourself in doing so. Like, so that sounds also like this is going to be important in March for us to spend time alone and like some energetic hygiene. Being careful with what we bring
Absolutely.
into our field because we're more sensitive right now. And moving forward, it feels like we're just going to get more sensitive
Right. For sure.
because our physical bodies are changing so much. So my goodness, like take care of your body.
Absolutely. And yeah, and like one through three and the numerology line are about like bringing ideas into the physical as well. And so, and they're at the beginning of the number line. And I also like to look at them as like people of different ages. So, like, one is, a baby, and two is a toddler, and three is like a little bit older child, it's like
Totally.
embodying that energy
Yeah.
going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And how much wisdom is in that, right?
Mhm.
There's so much wisdom in that innocence and that endless creativity.
Right.
that isn't like bogged down by all the stuff.
Right. Like you said, you still get to play. Like you get to play with
Yeah.
those energies. And
Yeah.
as you get older, you know, it's like you get stuck in routine, or you get stuck in like a normal day to day, you know, where there's not a lot of room for
Yeah.
creativity and movement and um, you know, thinking about doing things in a different way.
Totally. I love that.
Hmm.
I think that's amazing.
Yes.
Oh, sweet. So, do you have anything else you wanted to share about the equinox energies in general?
Yeah, so we've talked about the universal year and the universal month. So I'd like to talk about the universal day. As I
Yes.
mentioned to you before we started recording, like the day, the equinox, it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the time. You know, it's kind of like this is kind of like an overall type of energy that we're going to be calling in.
Yeah.
So for Astara, happening on March 20th, it's going to be a 14/5 universal day.
Hmm.
And 14/5 represents like practicality meets action. So 5 represents like movement, confidence, courage, change, and exploration. And 14 represents like personal responsibility, or self discipline, charity, and obligation, especially to family. And with this 9, you know, humanitarianism, like we could be, you know, asking, or it could be asking us to consider like the needs of others and finding new and innovative ways to engage.
Hmm.
So like kind of playing upon, you know, the 3 and the 9 that we already talked about. And this 9 universal year will not let us, like I said, sit on our hands, sit idly by, continue to watch people suffer. You know, like we have to get our hands dirty. And this spring equinox is like a great time for us to engage and do that. Right. Um, so while we may be feeling overwhelmed by the needs of many, like just doing something, as I said, creates this ripple effect and it influences others to participate.
Hmm.
And then we also look at like the what the day is. So it's going to be happening on the 20th, right?
Right.
So that tells me like once again it could be like a very like emotionally driven day, because that 2 energy, you know, is like, you know, I'm in my feelings. I'm um you know, it's like a divine feminine number, and it's like I'm not so much in my head, I'm more in my body,
Hmm.
right? Like, and that's where our intuition talks to us, how it speaks to us, right? So 2 is a very like sensitive number. It just brings us in touch with that side of ourselves, and it's asking like, where am I being led?
Hmm.
You know, and I feel like that's going to be a question that we're all going to be asking ourselves throughout the rest of the year, really. Like, where am I
Yeah.
being led? Rather than like, I don't know how instead of like worrying about the path being made totally clear,
Yeah. Or like what
right?
I should be doing or
Right, exactly.
what yeah, that makes
Yeah,
so much
instead of
sense.
shitting our all over ourselves, like
Yes,
we're like,
exactly.
where am I intuitively feeling led to go?
Which requires a lot of trust, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I don't know if you knew this or not. Maybe you do, but I was reading about the equinox, and it said that it's happening on the International Day of Astrology.
I did not know that.
Isn't that cool? I
Interesting.
was like, what? I have to
That
tell
is
Stevie this.
that's so cool. I love that.
Yes. And 20 is also a beautiful number because it shows like our innate connection to our guides. So the 0 of 20 is called the God number.
Mm.
And it just represents like spirit. It represents like, it's also like portal like energy, you know,
Mm.
and it takes us like through the void. And the void is where creation happens, right? And so it can like, it could be a really just opening type of number, type of day that we could be
Wow.
experiencing. And I thought that was really beautiful.
That is really beautiful.
Um, yeah, so like taking like our intuition, taking our emotions, our spiritual selves, and applying them in a practical way.
Yeah. It
Like,
sounds like there's a groundedness here,
yes,
which is cool for,
Hmm.
Aries and Pisces to have that like earthy piece. It sounds sort of
Hmm.
earthy, like let's take responsibility and be disciplined and do it for change, right? Like
Hmm.
that's cool. And that,
Yeah.
so does that flavor basically the spring season then, like the way that that day, because when you look at a chart, the spring equinox chart will flavor the whole season. Is that
Right.
similar?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so that influence will, even though the days and the months and everything is are going to change, it still has this like overall theme
Right. It's similar to
that
like a
plays
new
out.
moon
Like it's like
energy.
kind of like an undercurrent almost.
Right. Right.
But that universal day, when it begins, that beginning energy is going to like kind of show us the direction that we're headed in.
Yeah. Cool. I'm here for that.
Yes.
I like that grounded piece of it too. And maybe that's just all my stuff, but I like that responsibility piece because then it's going to say it's not just all play.
Right.
Yeah. Like
Right.
we gotta do the things to make the change for the new structures to be birthed. So
Absolutely.
cool. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
your numerology. It was so good to talk to you. Tell me about if people want to engage in working with you one-on-one, what does that look like for your numerology or anything really?
Yeah, sure. For my numerology, I offer reports, and these are like typed reports, and I also include not I don't take them from a template or anything like that. I type them like they're customized, I guess you could say, for each client, and I include like some of my intuition in there, you know. So if something comes through, like I add that in there. So it's like personalized messages for each client. And I do 3, 6, and 12 month numerology reports. And then I also do them for business owners. So if you have a business, like I can look at the numerology of your business and kind of tell you like what are some themes coming up. I can tell you about what kind of year you're walking into, so you can maybe plan things for the rest of the year. And then as far as my other offerings, I do Akashic record readings, and what else do I do? I do hypnotherapy.
You do a lot. You do a
I
lot.
do a lot. That's my manifesting generator self. A
Mhm.
lot. I do a lot
Super
of,
passionate.
yes. I do a lot of past life regression and a lot of energy work, energy healing.
Yeah, Beck is incredible, you guys. Like she's my number one when I need help. And I'm like, please, what's happening? What's gonna happen? I
Thank you.
always go to you because her sessions, her Akashic record sessions are so helpful and validating. And then also giving you like really practical, you know, ways to work with what's happening for you right now and why you're here and stuff. And also your numerology report, I've gotten that too. And I still think about it all the time. All the time. It's similar to like your sun sign and your moon sign is this. So just be that. And you
Right.
know what I mean? Like when you're
Right.
talking about your essence of something, like
Yes.
it's another layer to like really understand who you are. And even like the 3, 6 month, 12-month reports are really helpful in understanding how to lean into each month.
Right.
So yeah, highly recommend all of it. And if you want like a deep, beautiful being really seen by somebody and understanding like who you are and how to be empowered to move forward, like your Akashic Record sessions are like mind-blowing to me. They're so
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah, they're
And
so
and
good.
I think you are amazing as well. I think your breakdowns,
Thanks.
oh my gosh, like they are so palatable, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like I get this sense of like, you can, girl, you got this. Like it's fine, you
You're
know.
gonna be okay, promise.
Yes, you're gonna be okay. Yes, I feel held and seen in your space as well, Stevie.
Oh, thank you. I really love that. I created a new offering that like came to me in the shower. You know when that happens? Like you need to do this. And then my generator self was like, oh yes, that's a full body yes. So I
Mhm.
created these reports for March and April for you guys where we talk about where the Venus retrograde's happening, where the Mercury retrograde's happening, and then where the two eclipses happen in your life and what that means for you. So they're highly personalized reading reports that are emailed to you. They're like 10 plus pages or so. They're also intuitive in some ways, but it's really meant to give you like a roadmap of like this portal that we're walking through. Because I feel like March, after we get to May, a lot's going to change. Like we're going to be very different people. And I know that sounds so dramatic, but it is. It just is that way.
Mhm.
Um, so I think a lot's going to change on our inside self and our outside self these next couple of months. And it's helpful to know, like, well, what does that mean for me? Where is that showing up in my life?
Right.
And this isn't like just for business owners, and this also is not for people that know astrology. Everything that I write is has very little astrological language in it because I'm meant to train. It's a foreign language to people, so I'm not here to write reports like that. They're grounded, practical,
Yes.
you know, ways on how you can work with this energy because then you can find the flow, which
Exactly.
is
Yes.
everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I love your reports, and like they are detailed, and they have depth to them without, like you said, like totally confusing me with all of the astrological language. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
be like putting German in a I had somebody tell
Learn
me
this
that once.
language first, and then
Yeah,
you can do my report.
she's like, as soon as I read Mercury retrograde second house, I just like fall over and I go, oh. I was like,
Right.
that's so helpful. It is like putting a foreign language into something that does not compute. Like, I'm not here to
Right.
do that. I'm here to like help you. I'm the translator, right? Like, we're the translator.
Exactly. Yes.
We take a language and we translate it to you personally, and then it helps you move on with your days and months and weeks. Like that's
Yeah.
what we're here for. So hopefully
Yes.
this video is helpful for everybody in understanding what to expect. It certainly was helpful for me. I'm going to take everything you said back and like remind myself to not take it so seriously. Because
Yes.
that's for me, that's like really important.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty going on in the world right now,
For
and
sure.
a lot of people are feeling scared and unsure, and they're not sure what to expect, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like, well, it's like I don't totally know what's going to unfold, but I can kind of give you a basis, and I
Yeah.
can give you something to maybe help you focus on.
Right. Totally.
Right.
Yeah. So helpful. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Bye everyone.